Hello, and welcome to our predictions recap video of the Birmingham Major North America Open, Event 3. This is an important one because this determined the teams that were going to go and the teams that weren't going to go. Because if you remember, before this weekend happened, only NRG was guaranteed a spot. So a lot of other teams wanted to fight for their spot. So let's look and see how my predictions did versus the actual results. Okay, let's just look at Group A. I'm going to keep it over here. Hopefully that's above me. And then my Group A is over here on the right. So I predicted Complexity with 3-0 Lotus 8. They actually dropped a game to Lotus 8, which is kind of funny to think about. But, you know, it's Rocket League. You know, you can drop a game and come back and win a series. No big deal. I had Gen G 3-2ing Pioneers. They 3-1'd them. I had Deleted beating Omelet and qualifying all the way through, and you'll see that is not what happened. But obviously I had that as a close game, and this was relatively close, 3-1 final, Game 5. Pirates on a Boat, I had beating Netherland Americanada 3-1. In reality, they 3-0'd them, which means in the uppers, I had Complexity Gen Z. I had Complexity winning 3-2. That's what happened. Close game here as well, 1-0. And I had Pirates on a Boat losing to Deleted. Now, obviously, Deleted got knocked out here. I was very optimistic about them before the event, but they did not have a very good Open 3 here, unfortunately, for them. And for my bracket picks as well. So, Deleted wasn't here. Pirates ended up winning, and then Complexity I had beating Deleted 3-1. In reality, Complexity 3-1 Pirates on a Boat. So, kind of close. How about the lowers? How'd I do? I had Pioneers beating Lotus 8 3-1. They actually beat them 3-2, so that game was kind of close. Actually, it was very close. Game 5 overtime. I didn't realize that. So, yeah, Game 5 overtime could have gone either way. Granted, the Pioneers had a nice match against Omelet. I had Pirates on a Boat going lower after losing to Deleted. That's not what happened, obviously. Pirates on a Boat beat Omelet. And so my bracket gets kind of messed up here at the bottom, but I had Complexity, Deleted, Gen G, and Pirates, when in reality it was Complexity, Pirates, Gen G, and Pioneers. So the Pioneers made it through. Deleted, unfortunately, fell. Bit of a tough draw. They lost to Omelet and Gen G, but if you can't beat Omelet or Gen G, then you can't crack top 8. I mean, I feel like that's kind of the reality of it, because these teams are kind of in that area, right? So then let's look at Group B, which was the more competitive, or I'd say higher competitive group there. I had Ultimates 3-0ing Strictly Biz. That's exactly what happened. Now, here's where I had a spicy pick. I had NRG losing 3-2 to 9 lives and going to the lowers and qualifying through the lowers, when in reality, they won. But they won an OT Game 5. So very close. So I'm not going to give myself too bad of a pick. I saw some comments that my pick was a little bit aggressive. But honestly, that OT goes a different way, I would have been right. So, can't win them all. Then, obviously, I had Rebellion over Garrett AJ Squishy, a.k.a. Gas. That's not what happened. They got 3-2'd. Pretty shameful result for Shopify Rebellion. No offense to them, but they need to switch something up. I think they replaced their coach because the players have a high enough skill level. It's more strategy and how they approach the game. So I think it's probably worth getting a different coach for the next split after Birmingham. That's my honest opinion, but wish them all the best. Fun team to watch, and the CJ streams were hilarious watching them play because he can't help himself but react to all the chaos in those games. And Space Station 3-1 Tech. That's exactly what I predicted. So pretty good on that first round. Then I had Ultimates beating 9 lives. Obviously, NRG passes through here. It pushes Ultimates down to the lowers. And then Space Station, I had beating Rebellion and qualifying through here. I had Ultimates Space Station, when in reality it was Space Station NRG 3-0'd them. This was the beginning of seeing some challenges for NRG. Looking at the player interviews, they said they really wanted to win and all that, but they just didn't play as good as they did the first two. It's either going to be they didn't play as good as they should have played, or the teams that played them watched a lot of film from the first two events, and NRG did not change their play style to win these series, right? Because you're going to see NRG, their results later we'll cover at the end. But all right, so how's that make my lower bracket? I had NRG winning all the way through. They weren't there, so you can basically flip NRG and ultimates for my bracket. I did have Rebellion going out here in the lower semifinals because I thought they were going to get a bad pull after losing to Space Station, but they ended up losing to Garrett, AJ, Squishy, and then losing to Strictly Business. And then Nine Lives also got eliminated twice. Nine Lives I was a lot higher on. You'll see I have them pretty far in the tournament. I thought they were going to push through and get the spot at Birmingham, but they didn't. So I'm sure they wish they could get that back because I think that team has a bright future, or at least Kofor and, the mix there of Hoxer and Chicago are going to be fun to watch. I really enjoyed watching them. I was hoping they would get the fourth spot because I feel like they're a team that would do well on LAN, but we're not going to get to see them this time around. Unless for some reason I'm miscalculating the rankings here. So then I had Tech over Gas when it was really Tech over Shopify. Shopify goes 2 and out, loses to Gas, loses to Tech. They need to rethink their whole strategy. Obviously, not anywhere close to meeting their potential or how they should be doing. So Ultimates ended up qualifying through the lower bracket. Strictly Business also ended up qualifying through Strictly Business. Basically lost to the Ultimates twice, but they lost their seeding match. So this one I did okay. I had Ultimate, Space Station, Energy, 9 Lives. When it was Space Station, Energy, Ultimates. Anyone who didn't pick these three, probably bad picks by them, honestly, because we knew how good these teams were, even though Space Station didn't make the second open for NA. So really Strictly Business was the one that squeezed out. I was expecting 9 Lives to make it, or Rebellion, but obviously I didn't pick Rebellion to go that far, so they didn't make it. So not too bad. And obviously, my picks, the further you get in the brackets, the more difficult it is to really say, okay, hey, this happened, because you don't have the same matchups. So it's tough to say. You might pick a team to beat this team, but not to beat that other team, even though they're in the same position in the tournament, right? For example, let's go lower bracket round 1 over here. I had Genji 9 Lives. This is where I had Genji going out. I had them going out top 8, and they ended up winning, as you can see here. So Genji had a monster run, but they also had probably the easiest path to the grand final, because they didn't have to play Space Station, Ultimates, or NRG. But, they beat Ultimates in the grand final, but they had the easiest run to get there. So good for them for capitalizing on that. And as you'll see, that clutches them the major spot. So good for them. No hating from me about that. In my upper, I had Complexity Space Station, Ultimates deleted. As a reminder, I put Energy in the lowers. So that kind of messes up my bracket here. But at the end of the day, I had Complexity beating Space Station. That's not what ended up happening, although Space Station did lose their match and Complexity did lose their match. I had Ultimates beating Deleted pretty bad. Deleted obviously did not make it that far, so maybe a bad pick there by me. I still believe in that roster, though. I think Deleted has bright things ahead for them. So how that looks in the lowers, I had Complexity Gen G here. That was the reality. Complexity Gen G. Gen G 4-1 Complexity. That's when you knew they were hot, because Gen G to pick that many games against Complexity is really good for them. And then I had Deleted Energy at the bottom. I had Energy going all the way through and winning, as you can see here. That's not what happened. Energy made it to top 4. They 4-1'd Complexity, and then they got 4-0'd by the Ultimates, and this series looked absolutely terrible for NRG. Look at that. 3 goals to 12 goals. It was a beatdown. It looked like they just didn't even, I don't know. It was a tough watch, honestly, because I was cheering for NRG to win. Maybe this is what lights a fire. I think one of the other storylines here is that once again, this team was stopped short 1 from getting 12 straight wins on these opens. So hopefully a learning lesson for these players. I think NRG is still a top 5 team in the world, so I'm not too down on them losing to Ultimates. Could see that happening. Not putting up a game against Ultimates kind of sucks for them, so hopefully they go back to tape and take this very seriously, which I'm sure they will, because they're always very professional, and they do, take those losses seriously. Even though they didn't have to win anything, I think they still did want to go out and win and get that the 12 in a row of the open wins. Gen G 4-0'd Pirates on a boat. I did not have Pirates on a boat making it this far, I had them getting 4-1'd by NRG, so top 8, and so that's not what happened. Obviously, that led to the grand final of Gen G and Ultimates, which was an amazing match. It was super fun to watch. You can see that super long OT, 7-minute OT, was a fun watch. Gen G comes out down 2, wins 1 back after the timeout buff. Then Ultimates take them to match point, and then Gen G wins out against triple match point. Boom, 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 with a double OT. 4 overtimes in a 7-game series. Very close. I wouldn't say that Gen G wanted it more than the Ultimates, because I don't think any team reaches it to the grand final and wants it less than the other team. I just don't believe in that sort of phrasing of it. But I think we're all happy that Gen G kind of had their validation. Granted, based on how the first 2 opens went, I think most people were expecting them to disband, switch it up, or something of that effect, because they just weren't reaching their potential. And of the teams that didn't make it, here, let me pull up the ranking of who makes it to Birmingham. The teams that didn't make it, I think I'm excited to see the shuffles, right? So you had Gen G basically stealing Space Station Gaming's spot and 9 Lives. So 9 Lives and Space Station Gaming, it was in their control to go and qualify, and they just didn't get it done. Good lesson for Space Station Gaming, very young team. They didn't qualify into the second open. They lost in the Swiss, so they went from the grand finals in 1, and then they went what did they do? Top 8 or top 6 in the second or in the third? I'd have to double check. Sorry. So 9 Lives, Space Station Gaming. I was expecting them to take this 4th spot, but Gen G with the win ends up clutching the 3rd place seeding. Without the win and just the grand final appearance, they would have had 18 points, which still qualified them for the Birmingham Major. But I'm sure they're happy they get that, and they should get a better competition, I believe. Although I could be wrong, because the Buchels score, how do you even say that? I think I said it right. I was seeing that NA1 was playing NA4 or NA3 for the first round of Swiss or something like that, so they might get NRG for their first round draw, which is just the most Gen G Mobile 1 racing thing ever, to get just a terrible draw. So I did okay on my picks. NRG went out top 4. I predicted them to win. Ultimates I had in the grand final as well, so they were. That was correct. Space Station was top 8, but I had them in top 4 because I thought they were going to come out and have a very good series. Complexity I also had top 4. They didn't quite make it. They were top 8 here. 9 Lives and Deleted I thought were both going to do better. They both didn't make it out, so that was a rough round for them. Maybe it'd be interesting to see 9 Lives and Deleted to kind of do a little trade, maybe swap 2 players, just keep things interesting. I don't think that Space Station's going to be switching any players if I go back to the rankings here. But let me know if you've heard any rumblings, or you think there's a strategy about, hey, this team should replace this person. I think Rebellion, from what I gather, the players really like playing with each other and enjoy being on the same team, but obviously losing games makes you unhappy, right? So I think it may be time for them to investigate either a new play style or potentially a new coach. If not that, then they're probably going to drop Two-Piece or Parth, because I don't think they're going to get rid of Justin, because he's kind of like the franchise player for Shopify. just because of his status in NA Rocket League history. Really, all Rocket League RLCS history. He's one of the GOATs. So, I mean, should probably make a separate video about who I expect to shift around, or maybe we'll make some rumor videos depending on what we're seeing on the subreddit or Twitter or X, any of the social media platforms. I think next time I would really like to see Space Station take one of these spots, but I do think that's a solid grouping from NA. I mean, you can see how it matches up with Europe here, and then I'm going to be done at there. K Corp, NRG, very good teams. Also, stunner losses in the last Open. Team Vitality, Team Ultimates, or the Ultimates, both teams were expected to do extremely well. Team Vitality was expected by a lot of people to be the number one in Europe. I think most people would have picked Vitality over K Corp just given the team structure. Ultimates NRG, I think, was always a question mark because people wanted to see, what difference does LJ make compared to apparently Jack on the roster. And they've shown that Ultimates can beat NRG and they can 4-0 them on the right day. Dignitas, Genji Mobile 1. Dignitas, obviously much more, in my opinion, a much more talented team, but it would be fun to watch these ranks go against each other, like number 1 Europe, number 1 NA, number 2 Europe, number 2 NA. Those would be fun matches. Dignitas, I think, would give Genji the business, honestly. This is where you start seeing a little bit of the NA-EU disparity. Granted, Europe had GK pop in there when they weren't really expected. It was going to be Ninjas. I like Ninjas in Pajamas better than GK when it comes to results, but obviously GK went on and had a monster run, which is a whole separate topic. Obviously, this is an NA video. Complexity, I would expect to do well on LAN, but future Birmingham prediction videos are coming soon. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know, what picks you think I got the most wrong based on this review, or what picks you got the most wrong. I think almost everyone was surprised that Genji won the grand final. The odds on Genji winning were probably like 1 in 20 or something like that, or maybe even higher than that, if you were looking at the betting odds or something. So, congratulations for Genji for pulling out the victory. I'm sure that's very motivating for them. They don't strike me as a team that's going to be like laid back. This is like finally the reward from working so hard, and now they're going to double down. So I kind of hope they go out and show us some pretty cool stuff. It would be awesome to have three of the top 8 spots at Birmingham to be NA teams. That would really show how good this region is and the depth of this region. And I think it's very plausible that Complexity or Genji could make top 8. I think NRG, people expect top 4, maybe grand finals, and Ultimates, people would expect at least top 8, possibly top 4, depending on the seeding. So I think NA has a good group that they're going to send to Birmingham, but we're going to talk more about that in the future. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more Rocket League content, and have a wonderful day. Bye.